Remember what I was saying at the beginning, that me using this Book of Mormon to try to demonstrate Catholicism is an exact parallel in its stupidity of what Protestants do, like Jono, the Hyde Park heretic of Speaker's Corner and other parts of London, who uses Catholic bishops of ancient times to promote Protestantism. But at this point you might be saying, well, if you're only talking about invocation of angels, Irenaeus may have been basically a proto-Protestant. So let's see what Irenaeus was all about. I'll give you some of Irenaeus' teaching about Mary to start with. That should unsettle the Protestants a little bit, who like to use Saint Irenaeus. So we're in Adversus Heresy still, so we're staying in that book. And it's book 3, chapter 22, in case you want to check it for yourself. Here's what the saint says. This is paragraph number 4. And it's on the top right of your screen. Mary, having a man betrothed to her, and being nevertheless a virgin, by yielding obedience, became the cause of salvation, both to herself, and you may say fine, to herself, fine. But he goes on to say, and the whole human race. Now we know she's not the primary cause, of course. The Protestants dare not, except in the most stupid drunken moments, say that we'd say that. But that she is a cause of salvation for humanity is the view of St. Irenaeus. So do we really want to be quoting him if we're Protestants? It's getting like, I'm quoting the Book of Mormon again, isn't it? But there's more on the Holy Virgin. Continuing that same paragraph, as I scroll up. And thus also it was, that the knot of Eve's disobedience was loosed by the obedience of Mary. For what the Virgin Eve had bound fast through unbelief, this did the Virgin Mary set free through faith. It doesn't seem that Mary's just the mother of Jesus. Any old woman could have been a vessel. She's basically just a kind of pipeline to bring the Messiah into the world. That's the Protestant position. Not saying it's Martin Luther's position, but these modern day Protestants like Jono, that's all Mary is. But here, for St. Irenaeus, don't forget whom he quotes in support of his man-made religion from 500 years ago. Mary this did the Virgin Mary set free through faith. The knot of Eve's disobedience. So she undid the knot. And that knot binds the whole human race. It's the binding of original sin and its consequences. So we can see why earlier on in that paragraph, St. Irenaeus had such great things to say about Mary, that she's the cause of the salvation of the human race. What Protestant can accept this? The Protestant should be saying, this man is a heretic, and stop quoting him. But if they still think that they can really use Irenaeus, let's just look at something else the great man says. Here, go to the top left now. This is Irenaeus again against heresies, book 3, chapter 3, paragraph 2. Since, however, it would be very tedious in such a volume as this to reckon up the successions of all the churches, we do put to confusion all those who, in whatever manner, whether by an evil self-pleasing, by vainglory, or by blindness and perverse opinion, assemble in unauthorized meetings, We do this, I say, by indicating that tradition derived from the apostles of the very great, note this, the very ancient and universally known church founded and organised at Rome by the two most glorious apostles, Peter and Paul, as also by pointing out the faith preached to men, which comes down to our time by means of the succession of the bishops. For it is a matter of necessity, underline that folks, necessity, that every church should agree with this church on account of its, what? You read it, preeminent authority. That is, and he's speaking of Rome, that is, the faithful everywhere, inasmuch as the apostolic tradition has been preserved continuously by those faithful men who exist everywhere. So you've got an affirmation by Irenaeus, and he gives actually the names of all the popes up to his time. He's not an Italian, he's from somewhere else, but he fetches up in Lyon, in France. He is affirming the absolute supremacy of Rome. So what on earth a Protestant is, in fact, I think I'm going to start quoting from the Book of Mormon. You know, it's just like, if these can do it, why can't I? It seems so unfair that I must stick with Catholics to support my case. But I'm not finished. We've already shown Mary, that Irenaeus is, for Protestants, a heretic because of what he says about Mary. Now we've got him as a heretic because of what he says about the supremacy of Rome and the need for apostolic succession. Let's go to the bottom right. And this is, again, Against the Heresies, versus Heresies, Book 4, Chapter 26, Paragraph 2. Wherefore, it is incumbent to obey the presbyters who are in the church. And we know what the church is now. It's those who accept the authority of Rome. The presbyters are the priests. Just another word for priest. Those who, as I have shown, possess the succession from the apostles. Those are the only ones that matter. If you can't show succession from the apostles, forget it. Pay no attention to these people. Those who, together with the succession of the episcopate, the bishops, have received the certain gift of truth, according to the good pleasure of the Father. So these are the people who receive the certain gift of the truth. Nobody else does. It's a gift from the Father, the certain gift. That's how you know when you go to the Catholic Church, for its teaching, you're getting the truth, because it's a gift. It's not something you work out intellectually. It just can't be done. You can make intellectual assertions and think things through intellectually, but the gift of faith is from God and cannot be deduced from the natural world. There is a degree to which you can go to know things of God, the things of God, through reason, but very limited. So we here have to find that church where the certain gift of truth is. This echoes John 16:13. The Spirit will lead you into all truth. Find that church, because if you go to any other church, you're not getting a certain gift of truth. You might get smart arses, real intellectual stuff. The Anglicans have some of the smartest people. Look where they've ended up. So, that's the gift of the Father, and you've got to be in the church that has that gift. Irenaeus goes on. And by the way, that's the reason Jono made a complete mess of things in that video with Jay. But it is also incumbent to hold in suspicion others who depart from the primitive succession. So if you rejected the apostolic succession, you're out of it. They assemble themselves together in any place whatsoever. House churches, folks. Build their own lovely churches. They even look Catholic, like some of the Anglican churches. But it's what you call any place whatsoever. It comes under that heading. Looking upon them either as heretics of perverse minds or as schismatics puffed up and self-pleasing, or again as hypocrites, acting thus for the sake of lucre and vainglory. So those who have put aside the primitive succession as their authority, who assemble themselves anywhere they want, they are heretics, perverse minds, schismatics, self-pleasing, and they do it for the sake of lucre and vainglory. Look at all those Protestant preachers in America. And we have them here as well. It's the money. Of course, in America, the richest country in the world, they can really rake it in. They're more modest in other parts of the Western world. Well, by Jove, did he not nail it, St. Irenaeus, to 1800 years ago? But we're not finished. For all these have fallen from the truth. All of them have fallen from the truth. So you're outside the church with the primitive succession of apostles. You've fallen from the truth. And the heretics, indeed, who bring strange fire to the altar of God, namely strange doctrines, shall be burned up by the fire from heaven, as were Nadab and Abiud. You don't subjectively try to work out yourself what is a strange doctrine, what is a false doctrine, strange fire. You just find out who is teaching outside of the primitive succession of apostles. That's going to be the source of strange doctrine. There'll be true doctrine there too. But it doesn't matter. They'll have strange doctrine because they've separated themselves for a reason. So keep away from them. Have nothing to do with them. And when I've said many times there's no salvation outside the Catholic Church, this echoes that. Because here St. Irenaeus is saying, they shall be burned up by the fire from heaven. Outside of this church, which Irenaeus is clearly a member of, the Catholic Church of the 2nd and 3rd century AD, you'll be burned up by the fire. Continuing with our good saint. But such as rise up in opposition to the truth and exhort others against the church of God shall remain among those in hell, being swallowed up by an earthquake, even as those who were with Kor, Dathan, and Abiron. Opposing the Catholic Church then, opposing its doctrines, St. Irenaeus says you'll end up in the same way as those who rebelled against Moses, in hell. But those who cleave asunder and separate the unity of the church, this is a different group now. These are not so much in opposition to the truth, but they simply separate themselves from this church, which is governed from Rome. They shall receive from God the same punishment as Jeroboam did. So these people, this latter group, are called schismatics. And they are in rebellion against God too. And I'm afraid this applies to Jay, who is in a far better position than old Jono, the heretic of Hyde Park. But it's not good enough. It's a smaller bridge to come back, because at least, the religion that Jay holds is not insane. I mean, born-again Christianity is absolutely insane. You have to have treatment, a kind of spiritual medical treatment, before you can actually even begin to think straight. But that's not true of the Eastern Orthodox and the Oriental Orthodox. But we have to listen to what St. Irenaeus says. But if we're not going to listen to what St. Irenaeus says, then stop citing him. If you're a Protestant, say, this heretic I'm going to have nothing to do with.